The year is 2025. For 3 weeks, the world held its breath. Diplomats in Doha, Qatar sat around polished mahogany tables, sipping tea and speaking in careful, measured tones. The words ceasefire, de-escalation, and peaceful resolution echoed across marble floors. News anchors called it a breakthrough. Markets stabilized. People exhaled. They were wrong to exhale. Because 900 miles away, deep inside hardened mountain bunkers along the Iranian coast, something was waking up. Something that had been years in the making, paid for in Russian rubles, assembled by Russian engineers, and pointed directly at the beating heart of American naval power in the Gulf. Today's video is going to take you inside the most terrifying 90 minutes of the 21st century. A night when the Strait of Hormuz, the chokepoint through which 20% of the world's oil flows, became a warzone. A night when Iran finally activated what military analysts had quietly feared for years, a fully integrated Russian upgraded air and naval defense grid, purpose-built to kill American technology. If you've ever wondered what a real confrontation between the US military and a superpower-backed adversary would actually look like, stick with us. This is going to be different from anything you've seen before. Drop a 1 in the comments if you're ready. Let's go. Part 1, The Betrayal. 2:17 a.m. The Strait of Hormuz. The night is moonless. Perfect. On the rocky Iranian coastline, a massive steel radar dish rotates slowly, methodically, like a predator turning its head. This is the Bavar 373, Iran's answer to the American Patriot system. But unlike the version Iran unveiled 5 years ago, this one is different. Its processing software was quietly upgraded by a team of Russian engineers from Almazanti, the same company that builds Russia's S-400. The Russians didn't just sell Iran weapons. They gave them a brain transplant. The radar locks. Inside a hardened underground launch tube, a Sayad 4 missile ignites. The shockwave rattles the desert floor. The missile punches through its canister cap and tears into the black sky at over 3,500 miles per hour. It doesn't need a direct hit. The nose cone fragments on proximity detonation, releasing a dense pattern of tungsten pellets, a supersonic shotgun blast in the dark. The target? A U.S. reconnaissance drone flying lazy circles over international waters. One wing separates. The fuel pod ignites. $28 million of American surveillance hardware spirals into the Gulf, still burning when it hits the water. The ceasefire is dead. And here's the part that will haunt you, the diplomats in Doha are still talking. They don't know yet. They're smiling. Exchanging pleasantries. Ordering another round of coffee. Have you ever been in a situation where you trusted someone and they were already planning to betray you? That's exactly what's happening right now. Drop a comment, have you ever seen this move before in history? Part 2, The Trap Springs. 2:31 a.m. Larak Island. Hidden in the shadow of jagged coastal rocks, a fleet of Iranian fast-attack boats, Saraj class, light, fast, almost invisible to radar, slides out of a concealed inlet in single file. These aren't the old, improvised speedboats the world saw in grainy footage from the 1980s. These are Russian-assisted composite hull vessels. Equipped with radar-absorbent coatings developed with technical guidance from Severnoy Design Bureau in St. Petersburg. Every 25 seconds, an iron sphere rolls off the stern of a boat and disappears beneath the black water. Contact mines. Dozens of them. Forming an invisible wall across the world's most critical shipping lane. 2 miles to the west, the MV Stellar Horizon, a 1,100-foot supertanker loaded with crude oil, is moving at 12 knots. She's too heavy to stop. Too slow to turn. Her captain doesn't see the threat. No one warned him. The bow crosses the invisible line. A mine spike touches painted steel. The explosion is catastrophic, not just the sound, but the feeling. The kind of detonation that you feel in your chest from half a mile away. The rear third of the tanker buckles. Steel plates the thickness of your hand fold like cardboard. The ship begins to break apart. But the Seraj boats aren't finished. One turns hard. A Nasser anti-ship missile, another design that quietly received Russian Seeker-head upgrades, screams off the launch rail. It drops to 12 feet above the waterline and vanishes into the sea spray. It hits the tanker's midsection. The secondary explosion paints the horizon orange for 40 miles in every direction. Crude oil pours into the Gulf and ignites. The sea itself is on fire. While this is happening, those diplomats in Doha are still at the table. Tell me something in the comments. If you were the US commander watching this on your screen right now, what's the first order you give? I'm genuinely curious. Part 3, America Wakes Up. 2:44 a.m. USS Theodore Roosevelt Strike Group, Gulf of Oman. The strike group's combat information center is lit red. Everyone is already at battle stations. They've been watching since the drone went down. The admiral doesn't hesitate. 2 EA-18G Growler electronic warfare jets are already taxiing. Within 4 minutes, they scream off the flight deck and climb hard toward the Iranian coast. These aircraft are not here to drop bombs. They carry something more devastating. ALQ-99 jamming pods, systems powerful enough to blind every radar dish on a 200-mile stretch of coastline simultaneously. When the Growlers activate their pods at altitude, the Iranian radar screens go white. Every operator on the ground loses their picture. It's not like static on a TV. It's like having your eyes physically removed. Complete sensory deprivation for a radar system that cost hundreds of millions of dollars to build. But the Russians anticipated this. The upgraded Bavar 373 software begins frequency hopping, cycling through dozens of radar frequencies per second, trying to find a gap in the American noise wall. For 11 seconds, it finds one. One Syed missile launches, targeting the Growlers. It never gets there. Part 4, The Harm Strike. 8 F/A-18 Super Hornets were already in the air. They had been waiting for exactly this moment. Each carries 2 AGM-88E HARM missiles, anti-radiation missiles designed for one purpose, to hunt radar emissions like a bloodhound tracks a scent. The moment that Iranian radar opened up to launch, it signed its own death warrant. 16 missiles arc into the upper atmosphere, then dive. On the ground, Iranian operators see the warning codes cascade across their screens. They do what any rational person would do, they cut power to the radar arrays. Shut everything down. Go dark. Here's what makes this moment extraordinary, and what I want you to really think about. It didn't matter. The newest AGM-88E has a GPS memory function. The moment that radar emitted a single pulse, even for 3 seconds, the missile locked its exact coordinates into permanent memory. Turning the radar off doesn't erase the address. The missile already knows where the truck is parked. For radar sites along the Iranian coast are erased in 22 seconds. Radar trucks worth $40 million each are thrown into the air. Concrete bunkers are collapsed inward. The mountainside hardened facilities that Russian engineers spent 3 years helping to build, gone. The iron sky over the strait is unzipped. And that's when things got brutal. Drop a fire if you didn't see this coming. Drop a face with open mouth if you want to know what happens to the fast attack fleet next. Part 5, The Hunt. Without the land-based radar to guide them, the Seraj-class boats are flying blind. They turn for the coast. Hugging shallow water, thinking the Americans won't risk firing near civilian shipping. High above, an MQ-9 drone, positioned far from the engagement zone, watches through its infrared camera. In the thermal image, the engines of the fast attack boats glow white-hot against the cool Black Sea. There is nowhere to hide. A Hellfire missile drops from the drone's wing. It doesn't create a city block explosion. It punches a precise, catastrophically hot hole through the boat's composite hull at over 900 miles per hour. The lead Sarraj boat stops mid-sprint and simply slides under the water. Simultaneously, the Super Hornets arrive over the Iranian coastline. 3 JSOW glide munitions, 900-pound unpowered gliders with folding wings, are released at altitude. They make no engine sound. They make no radar signature. The IRGC hovercraft lumbering toward their underground pens never hear them coming. The first JSOW hits the massive propeller assembly of the lead hovercraft. The explosion tears the fan assembly clean off. The vehicle, designed to ride on a cushion of air, drops onto the sand at 45 miles per hour and disintegrates into jagged metal and burning rubber. The entrance to the underground pen is now buried under debris. The remaining Sarraj boats attempt to fight back. They fire Nasser missiles at the Super Hornets. But without land radar guidance, their own onboard seekers are weak. The EA-18G Growlers, still orbiting overhead, immediately redirect their jamming beams at the incoming missiles. The Nasser's guidance computers receive conflicting signals. They zigzag, lose tracking, and splash harmlessly into the sea. The Super Hornets drop to low altitude and switch to their 20mm cannons. At 100 rounds per second, heavy armor-piercing shells walk across the water and through the last boats. The composite hulls offer no resistance. The final Sarraj boat noses down and sinks in 40 seconds. The IRGC spent years building this stealth fleet with Russian assistance. It took the US Navy 31 minutes to erase it. I want to ask you something genuinely. Do you think Iran expected this level of response? What would you have done differently if you were in their position? Serious question. Comment below. Part 6. The brain is removed. The fleet is gone. But the job isn't finished. The IRGC naval headquarters at Bandar Abbas, carved into the side of a granite mountain, protected by layers of Russian-advised concrete reinforcement, needs to be addressed. Intelligence estimates suggest it can survive standard cruise missile strikes. The concrete is 18 feet thick in places. Russian engineers specifically designed the outer shell to defeat American Tomahawk warheads. The US knew this. They'd planned for it. From a position in the Arabian Sea, a US destroyer opens vertical launch cells. 8 Tomahawk cruise missiles climb skyward, then drop to rooftop height, threading their way through terrain at 550 miles per hour. Invisible to whatever ground sensors still survive. They strike in sequence: piers, fuel infrastructure, communications nodes. 1,000-ton concrete docks slide into the sea. Reserve vessels are crushed or capsized by the waves. The fuel depot becomes a column of black fire visible from space. Then the F-35C Lightning IIs arrive. They've been waiting at altitude. Patient. Silent. The most expensive aircraft ever built, carrying the AGM-154 JSOW, a precision glide weapon designed specifically to defeat hardened targets. 4 munitions hit the same 6-foot circle on the mountain face. The first strips the exterior concrete. The second cracks the structural layer beneath. The third and fourth enter the cavity and detonate inside the command center. The mountain exhales fire from its own vents. The brain of the IRGC Navy is gone. Not damaged. Gone. From the first Tomahawk launch to the final F-35C strike, 7 minutes. Epilogue: the silence. The Growlers shut down their jamming pods. For the first time in 90 minutes, the electromagnetic spectrum over the Strait of Hormuz is quiet. A high-altitude surveillance drone transmits a live feed back to the strike group, and simultaneously, to a conference room in Doha, Qatar. where a U.S. diplomat quietly slides a tablet across the polished mahogany table to the Iranian delegation. On the screen, satellite imagery of empty desert where $2 billion in radar infrastructure used to sit. Burning docks. A collapsed mountain entrance. A sea on fire. No words are spoken. The Iranian lead diplomat stares at the screen for a long moment. Then he reaches for his phone to call Tehran. The line rings. And rings. And rings. There is no one left at the base to answer. In the strait itself, U.S. minesweepers deploy sonar teams and remotely operated robots. One by one, each mine is precisely detonated, controlled geysers that send columns of white water into the air and then fall back, harmless. Within 2 hours, the lane is clear. Oil tankers begin moving again. The stellar horizon is still burning. But the wind has shifted it away from the channel. Rescue teams are already pulling survivors. The world's oil supply will not be interrupted. OUTRO. If you made it to the end of this video, I want you to know that I make these for people like you. People who want to understand the world not from a headline, but from the inside out. People who want to understand how things actually work, why decisions get made, and what's really at stake when superpowers collide. One question before you go: which part of tonight's scenario surprised you the most? Was it the Russian involvement? The HARM missile's GPS memory? Or the speed of the entire operation? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. If this video made you think, hit the like button. It genuinely helps more people find this kind of content. And subscribe, because the next video is going to go even deeper. See you there. Warning disclaimer: this scenario is entirely hypothetical, created for educational and entertainment purposes only. All events, names, and tactical sequences are dramatized fiction.